Figures I forget something this morning, right? Anyway, welcome to Do the Mario 2024. I am LRock617, and I don't know how to properly set everything up before I'm ready to go. Thankfully, this is easy. Just like this video game. Yeah, it should be good to go. Alright, cool. Alright, thanks so much everybody for being here to kick off our Saturday. Leading into today's SMB Knockout One Night Only tournament, I will be playing a game that I grew up with that I think a lot of people may not even know exists. This is called Yoshi Safari. It was released for the SNES in 1993, congruently with the Super Scope. It didn't come with the Super Scope, though honestly it probably would have been a good pack-in, but they had their own 6-pack of games to go along with that instead. Their choice, not mine. So this game is a bit of an anomaly. It's very much a rail shooter, which means that it's an FPS that follows along a very specific trajectory. You don't really have movement options, technically. How I'm playing, you definitely don't have movement options. There is a thing for that I'll end up discussing, but unfortunately it doesn't work through the way I'm playing it. I will not be playing this game using a Super Scope. I'm actually playing on an emulator, specifically SNES 9X. This gives me the option to play it with a mouse, which I'm actually a big fan of. One other thing I almost forgot. Let me go find my notes. Yeah, there we go. Gotta have those. So the game's really cool. It features a lot of elements that I really liked at the time. I was a huge fan of the Koopalings, for example, and they're all bosses in this game, similar to how they are in Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World. Let me check something real fast. That's better. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and kick off by just doing as the game is instructed us to do and shooting the screen. The Super Scope does come with Turbo by default, so I've gone ahead and enabled that. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot the screen. Get a quick bit of opening cutscene. Couple trivial facts. One, this is the first game ever in Mario lore outside of Japan that referred to this character as Princess Peach. So if you wanted to know where it started, it was here. Prior to this, she was always just called Princess Toadstool. Second, any characters that are introduced in this game, we never see them again. Which I always thought was really funny. It's like, I don't know why they wanted to distance themselves from what was going on here, but anyway, we have to go to Jewelry Land, we have to rescue the king, and then we have to rescue the prince. Why it's not in the opposite order, I don't know. And zip through this. Typical Mario stuff. We'll go ahead and skip that. And the game is going to make us go ahead and make sure we have our aim set up first. Again. Okay. Now, 2-player mode is the one that has the option of being able to move, but unfortunately, it's not really configurable for an emulator. It's optimal if you're playing on original hardware, but we're going to stick with 1-player mode and just take it easy. That's going to kick off our timer. Okay, so in the speedrun, we always start with Stage 3. Stage 3 is most definitely not difficult, but it has the most random boss in the game. So even though you can technically go in any order like the Robot Master stages, I'm just gonna stick to it like I'm just doing an actual attempt to this game. Move on to the left. Those gates actually have incremental changes throughout the game. The game is also incredibly Mode 7, in case you couldn't tell. Sometimes it's faster to actually jump enemies than it is to shoot them. Shooting anything causes more sprites to appear on the screen, so sometimes it's better to jump enemies for lag reduction. Can't do that with Paragoombas, sadly. You gotta take them out. They're actually some of the more dangerous enemies. Little plant enemies or nothing. Scoot past them. Come up on our first mid-boss, which is a Boomerang Brother. Alright, gave us a good pattern there, that's good. So we can take some hits. It does sound annoying to have to listen to Yoshi take those hits, but it's what it is. Timer extension's not really gonna matter too much. Get all our health back. Okay, under our stage 3 boss, and this is the reason we start with stage 3. It's Wendy, and she's incredibly random. Hope she gives us a good pattern right away, and we can hit it. Okay, cool, very good. Getting that first hit is not consistent. She can sometimes disappear faster. She can also sometimes just not appear there. And from here, we had to do the same thing 2 more times, just drop the anvil on her. But unfortunately, placement of the anvil and placement of the boss is just not something we have any control over. Sometimes on that cycle, she'll appear in the first one right away. We just get to kill her. Not so lucky this time. Love this boss theme, too. Okay, so that'll finish it off. No, I missed it. That sucks. That makes me sad. Alright. Thanks for the freebie. That'll finish her off. If you're doing actual attempts to this game, that's the reason you have to start off with her. If you're trying to go for like a good time in this stage, you need to make sure you have that fight wagered out as quickly as you can, which is more up to the game than it is to you. And even as you saw there, I had a good pattern for the 3rd cycle, but couldn't close it out. That's on me. So I normally go to stage 6 3rd, but I'm doing this for memorization purposes. I'm just going clockwise from stage 3. Stage 6 is pretty annoying. The stage itself is fine. The boss has some problems to discuss. Anyway, in the meantime, I didn't want to get hit by that. In the meantime, enjoy these very slow-looking F-Zero Mode 7 backgrounds. Which is what I've been calling it this week. This game to me is like F-Zero but slow. That's unfortunate. Really bad shell pattern there. You're supposed to be able to jump these in synchronicity, but made some mistakes. Okay, that's fine. Took more damage than I would have liked, but we're fine. Get these big jumps. You want to make sure you land those jumps first try. You lose a lot of time if you don't. Bypass those guys. So here's a gate we have to shoot. Not shooting this one doesn't cost us too much time. Probably maybe 5 seconds, 5-10 seconds, but it's still better to just go ahead and shoot it. As I mentioned in stage 3, you don't have to shoot every gate, but the ones you want to shoot, make sure you just got it as part of your routing. And get the zip jump a la Mario Kart. Now take us to our boss. So this giant squid is pretty terrible. There's no RNG to the first phase. The big issue here is the hitbox. You have to shoot that little connecting piece from the blue portion that has the arms that connects it to the body. It's not very big. Thankfully took care of it in pretty short order, but that first portion can go all kinds of wrong if your aim is off. I don't mind taking these hits, really. And of course from here you have to just shoot the legs, but this much is random. Like how often it pops out of the water and everything is not something you have control over. Took care of it, and it was Iggy the whole time. I love the little white flags, like those are very funny to me. End of every stage, we collect a new jewel. You get one at the end of every stage, but I like to call them the Chaos Emeralds because in the first 7 stages you get one, and there are 7 Chaos Emeralds, and etc., etc. I'll go into further detail why at the end of the game, but I want to make sure I have notated that Mario is indeed a jerk. He's not a jerk in most games, but he's definitely a jerk in this game. And yes, I'm aware this is a week and we're celebrating him. He can still be a jerk. So the big thing for this stage is just don't get knocked into the water. You lose a ton of time if that happens. The Paragoombas we're about to encounter are the biggest issue there. I got pretty lucky on that one. If any of them knock me to the left, that's certainly not optimal. Shoot some enemies along the way. I'm gonna try and time this as late as I can. Okay, so we got our first star. Star is easy mode. You just get to breeze through the duration, and any enemy that collides with you is just gonna die, so you really just have absolutely zero to worry about. It's pretty great. So from here, I want to make sure they don't knock me into the water. Because now I'm gonna knock myself into the water. This is also the only music transition in the game that isn't a mid-boss or boss transition. Mario composers sure love their horns, don't they? No. Did not want to get hit by that. That was scary. So bloopers are pretty awful. They're the more dangerous enemies underwater by far. They can come in from the side and just get you. See, like I try to line it up, but they try to overtask you, and it usually works. Okay, that wasn't supposed to happen. Didn't like getting comboed. Not a big deal. We're not losing too much time from that. So here's a mid-boss, giant pot of calamari. Gonna throw every octopus at us that it can. As you can see underneath our life bar, the amount of shots that we get is congruent to how much what's called power that we have. I just refer to power as meter. Once the meter drains, you can no longer shoot. So you just have to kind of wait for it to recharge if that happens. Get a health refill. Move on to our boss. This boss is actually pretty fun. I like to try to just see how fast I can take care of it. First phase especially. Okay, so now Larry's exposed. Gonna keep shooting at the window. Make sure you can't get past. Yo, second cycle, let's go. I've only gotten second cycle killed once this week, so that was really cool. Usually he has to go off the screen to force a third cycle, but I was able to maintain my hits there. Good stuff. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm still getting over sinus infection, so you're gonna hear some noises you may not want to. Okay, on to stage 1. Quick readjustment. Okay. Stage 1, being the first stage, is pretty simple. It's not necessary to do it compared to stage 3, because RNG, but it's a really easy stage. It's a really good introductory stage to the game. Take care of these bozos. There isn't going to be anything here we haven't already seen outside of the mid-boss, but it does introduce you to like the concept of what enemies you want to intercept, the jump mechanic. Oh, okay, get off me. Jump is controlled using a button on the Super Scope called the cursor button, which has a number of functions, but in this game it's actually to make your character jump. So Hammer Brother being the technical first mid-boss is pretty on theme, I think. Took care of him in short order. Move on to our boss. Again, very short stage. It is the first stage. So here we have Lemmy, and an actual Lemmy bot, who I think is actually one of the harder bosses to kill quickly. First phase is whatever, he just jumps around a bunch. But the second phase is where things get tricky. The game wants you to be able to shoot at him as he pops out of his cockpit, but there's actually a small window of pixels where you can actually shoot him while he's in the cockpit, which is what I'm trying to maintain here. It's not very big, so we have to be kind of precise. Okay, there we go. I was hoping to finish off one cycle faster than that, but the precision of being able to line him up there is not something I'm particularly great at. I do my best, though. But he gone, flew away with his white flag, and now we get to move on. Boop, boop. Shoot the screen. On to what would normally be our last stage in stage 7. Stage 7's interesting. I love the look, first and foremost. We're essentially just walking on a bridge above clouds. Just think it looks really cool. These spawnies are gonna drop, we're gonna jump them. Saves way more time than shooting them. Exception being we're doing a zip, like this. And then of course that can happen. I probably should have just shot it. This is fine. All right, so we get bullet bills introduced as well. Bullet bills can be very dangerous. Only certain angles are where they can hit you, but the upside for them is that they do a lot of damage, so usually it's best just to get them out of your way instead of trying to dodge. Anything's better than getting hit by them, for sure. Big jump here. Okay, so I think this is the first stage we play where we get to introduce the sideways zips, which work just like regular zips, but we're moving on a non-parallel plane. Jump all these shells. That was unfortunate. I always forget about that one. Yeah, I don't love that. Honestly, the hardest thing about this stage is that there's no health refills prior to the boss, so we actually have to go into it with exactly this. I do love the aesthetic of this boss fight, though. You're in complete freefall mode. You're just falling into uncertain doom. So we have this balloon. I'm trying to take care of the bullseye before it flies away. Okay, we got it there. Now to shoot the arms. Bombs do pretty good damage. There shouldn't be anything too substantial, I don't think. It's actually not the worst thing in the world for health reasons if we can get rid of the arms before they start throwing bombs, so he behaved himself there. So now it's going to transform. It's going to grow some cannons. And when Roy pops out, he's going to spawn in 1 of 3 places. Left, middle, or right. Right is best RNG, middle is second best, left is worst. Okay, that's middle. We can work with this. Okay, good. Whee! So, unless he spawns on the left, it's actually really consistent to be able to maintain hits on him, and you want to be able to do that because if you can't maintain hits while he's exposed, he goes back in and he's invincible until he comes back out. So as long as you can maintain hits, he stays out, but he moves around a lot, so that can make it kind of tricky. If he spawns on the right, you essentially just get to kill him immediately. It's the most efficient and high likelihood of a 1 cycle for sure. We managed like a 1.5 cycle there, so that wasn't too terrible, and I'm not unhappy with it. I'm just glad that the second best RNG is the most common, as opposed to the worst RNG, which would be, if that were the most common, that fight would be miserable. Probably another major reset point. And stage 2 is aesthetically one of my favorites. It reminds me of the Choco stages from Mario Kart. Super Mario Kart, that is. Also has a great song. Love the use of horns here. I don't think we see anything in this stage that we haven't already seen enemy-wise. It's supposed to be another introductory stage because, you know, it's only the second stage. This would be the first time we'd see the shells, but we've already seen them in stage 6, I think it was, and stage 7, actually. A little bit of lag there, don't love that. Okay. Guess I'll just not shoot that thing. Loop around the last corner. Okay, so here we have my favorite Koopaling and Ludwig. Love that hair. Weak spot here is that giant pink bubble on his back. And we want to try and finish it in 3 cycles. This being the 3rd cycle, we're to go for it. Okay, there we go. Only a little bit longer than I would have liked, but we're on to the 2nd phase. We have to kill 3 things here. First 2 being these hands, because we don't want to catch those. What? Guess no one will kill that. Thought I had enough. Okay, so now that the hands are gone, this is where things get tricky. He's invincible until he exposes the cannon below the eyes. And it's kind of weird because it's almost like the game is manipulated to exposing it when you're shooting at it, which means you have to waste meter to actually get it to show up. 4 cycles is about what I'm used to. I want to say you could do it in 3, but I don't know if I ever have or not. That snaggletooth. Excuse me. That'll leave us with 1 stage left in the first wave. So on to stage 5. One thing I didn't explain from the first stage. There are 2 stages in this game where you get a fire flower upgrade. What the fire flower does is it grows your meter. You get it in the first stage you play, regardless of what stage it is. So we got it in stage 3. And then you get the second one in the 7th stage that you play. I don't know if there's any specific reason why stage 5 should be saved for the second fire flower. When I originally started running this game, the only other runner was a Super Mario World speedrunner who formerly was known as Dots Are Cool, so I just followed his route. Over time, though, I have come to understand why stage 5 is probably... There's the second fire flower, so now we have meter as big as our health. Reason being for the second fire flower for in this stage, and I have tested it, is going to be the mid-boss. Coming upon that here, not before too long. I should jump these. There we go. One more zip into the mountains. One-ups you don't really need. We're not anticipating taking any deaths, but still nice to have. Okay, so here's our mid-boss. I refer to as Sister Sledge. This guy has a lot of health. It's the reason I like having the extended meter here. Don't love taking the damage, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Okay. So not my favorite fight. I did take a little bit more damage than I would have liked. But like I said, I like having the additional meter there to make sure I can take care of it, just because of the amount of health. You run low on meter, you can lose a lot of advantage potential. We're gonna do a quick jump to our anime battle arena for the boss fight. So our last Koopaling is Morton. Another 2-phase boss fight. We're gonna be taking care of these woofers first. Sucks that he's jumping this much, but it's a frog. What do you expect? Everybody loves the Dennis Frogman boss fight, right? Dude, really? Okay, so when Morton starts popping out of the hat, optimally we want to be able to take care of him 5 cycles in a row without having him jump, and he's also stalling for time there, so not the best. Really? Alright, so not the best, but at least he didn't jump. When he gets the second form, if he starts jumping again, you lose a lot of time. Him firing those eyeball shots did cost us a little bit of time, but still nothing compared to a jump. All right, that'll complete our first phase of stages. So we rescued the king, and now we have to go save the prince. Okay, so wave of 4 stages here. We're gonna be starting off with stage 8. Banger of a track here. Love that percussion. This is actually a gate we don't shoot. I think you lose something like 10-15 seconds if you shoot it, so definitely don't shoot that one. Some more of these fire enemies. These guys are like 0.3 blooper. I'm generally not too concerned about them. What I am concerned about, however, is this mid-boss. This is probably the worst mid-boss in the game. This fire snake is pretty terrible because it can just be really hard to hit, especially because the lower on health it gets, the smaller the hurt box gets. And of course, stuff like that can happen too. It's just kind of a jerk. And of course, when you're down to the last sprite, it becomes really hard to hit. There we go. Not great, but reasonable enough. We'll be seeing him again. Spoilers. Take care of these. As for the moles, you can usually just jump them. They're not fast enough or aggressive enough to be able to catch up with you as long as your jump timing is strong. Got some health. Not that we needed it. From this point, when you have to do jumps, the game doesn't notify you that you're supposed to jump aside of the noise. It doesn't flash jump on the screen or anything. You just kind of have to do it. Those jumps do cost some time. We fall in the lava pit, we lose some life, lose some time. Jump this one. And onto our boss. That's all they do. Just know which ones to hit, which ones not to. Okay, so Magic Koopa's a troll for sure. Any boss that teleports has high troll potential. I'm gonna try and track him as best as I can with my shots. I believe in first phase he can only teleport as much as 3 times in a row, maybe only 2. But the advantage he has is he has multiple points on the screen which he can appear. If he shoots us, it's not that big of a deal. It does hardly any damage. This fight's more of an endurance test than anything. Not super fast with the straw. So now moves on to the big version. This one teleports a lot more. He can teleport as many as 4 times in a row. As evidence there. You can also, as you can see, only shoot him 1 at a time before he disappears again. Excuse me. But the trade-off is he can only appear in 1 of 3 spots due to his size. So he's easier to follow, but he can also just waste more time just by playing the game the way he wants to play it. That was unfortunate. I didn't want to miss that. Thankfully, since he's a wizard, he has very low health. If you're playing on SNES original hardware, you can only play this game with a Super Scope. You can't even play it with a Super NES mouse. However, I'm playing it on an emulator, and for some emulators, you can actually set up to work with a mouse, which is very convenient. Even though I grew up with this game in original hardware, this is my preferred way to play it now. Okay, so in the spirit of going clockwise, I normally go to 9 after this, but we'll go ahead and go to 11. From here, we're not getting upgrades based on stages, so we can go in whatever order. This stage is also a pretty decent one to talk about. Particularly because of how dangerous it is. It's a very, very small trajectory. We can get knocked into the water very easily if we're not careful. So my goal is to just do my best to take out any dangerous enemy that might be approaching us. Now back to the question about ways to play this game. If you're playing 2-player mode, that enables you the option to plug in a SNES controller that you can use to move Yoshi. And the top 2 runners in this game both play that way in original hardware. I don't think there's been a way determined to do so on an emulator. I would love for that to happen because I'm pretty sure that being able to move Yoshi yourself would save a lot more time. Like you could probably just walk instead of just having to walk on a rail. But until that day happens, I'm just gonna keep playing it like this. Okay, big jump there. Da-da-da. Ooh, that could have been scary. Let's look at that. No! Some of those are coming in close. Yeah, at the time, Nintendo really wanted to push their new peripheral, so they made this exclusive to said new peripheral. There was no forward thinking involved with this game, because that's not generally how Nintendo rolls. So this boss is pretty awful. This giant terrapin turret. As with most bosses, it has 2 phases. It's pretty good luck so far, though. So what we have to do is it's going to spin 4 times, so we have to kill the 4 Ninja Turtles atop the turret. You can only shoot it 1 at a time, and of course, as you can see, you can go underwater to make itself pseudo-invincible. It didn't do that the entire first cycle, which is very rare, so I was very surprised about that. Each Ninja Turtle takes 10 hits to defeat. I think as long as you can maintain hits, it's not going to try and go underwater. But that can be hard because of its movement, and of course because of meter. Nope. Logic defeated. We're fine. I'm wrong, but this is fine. Take care of that bozo. Okay, so now that the 4 Ninja Turtles are out of the way, we move on to phase 2, where it just grows all these cannons. It only has 1 weak spot, which is its mouth, and that's only when it's open. Pardon the hits we're gonna take. Unfortunately, it can just do this as much as it wants. It won't expose itself until it wants to. But my goal is to try to maintain hits on the mouth while it's exposed. So I want to just hover over it as much as I can. Similar to the fight with Ludwig, I'm trying to manipulate it by firing at its shield to see if it'll let me in. Ugh. Dun, 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 dun. Not really much else to talk about with this boss. It just sometimes chooses to do this. It's just another random boss fight. It also has an incredibly long death sequence. That fight is such a time drain. But it gone. Yeah, the cursor is not something that appears on an actual CRT. Similar to how you don't see one if you're playing something like Duck Hunt on NES. Spirit clockwise, go to 9. 9 is arguably the hardest stage in the game overall. Going to this ghost house. Does have some really cool music though. Very dreadful. So this is the only stage in the game where you thankfully see these enemies. That right there is a perfect example of why ghosts are pretty awful. When you shoot them, you most of the time are not able to kill them, you only stun them. While they're in hit stun, they can't do anything to you, but once they come out of hit stun, which they can do at like frame 1, they just get to clobber you. So making sure you shoot them as close to yourself as possible so that they can stay in shield mode for as long as it's convenient for you is crucial, but also not very simple. So they will gang up on you. Very dangerous in multiples. This is the most important gate in the game to shoot. This gate costs you between 20 and 25 seconds if you don't shoot it, so definitely make sure you catch that one. For routing purposes, you just gotta do it. Take care of this. Dun, 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 dun. Whoop. Almost missed that. That was just snuck up on me. Dun, dun, dun. Big jump coming up to the second floor. In this case, the basement. Interesting that we had that transition, but not a music change. Stage 4 we did. I'm not quite sure what's going on in the background. I don't know if this is supposed to be just darker, gloomier, greener ghost house. I don't know if it's supposed to be underwater. I've never investigated. I just played the game. So for those jumps across those electrical fields, if you miss the jump, you only take damage. You don't lose too much time. But you still don't want it to happen. So Lakitu's a pretty awful mid-boss when he wants to be. Especially if he decides to despawn. 4 enemies in a row is not what I'm used to. Don't like this damage I'm taking. I can't get a hit. There we go. That is definitely not supposed to take that long. Gonna get my hits lined up though. I was surprised he dropped 4 enemies before leaving. So another star. That jump is essential. Like, not only if you miss that jump, not only do you lose time, you also lose the star. You lose a fairly good amount of time here. You want to have the star there for the ghost segment. Okay. Sure, yeah. Guess I don't hit those. Big jump there. Okay, there we go. Okay, zip ourselves into the bottom floor for our boss fight, who, honestly, out of all the boss fights in the game, this might be one of the hardest. Big Boo's pretty awful. When he switches sides, you can only hit him a maximum of 3 times. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee you'll hit him 3 times. Because sometimes he can disappear before you get the last hit and do what he just did there. Like, he can just teleport away and decide to not get hit. It's pretty obnoxious. I'm gonna go ahead and spin the mushroom so we can get our health back. falling debris is also quite obnoxious. Does a pretty decent chunk of damage for the fire rate he gets out of it. Gotta just take these hits. Okay, so phase 2 creates these 3 degenerates. We can only hit the boo that has his tongue sticking out. And making sure we can maintain those hits is essential. The upside of going fast here, as long as we can do it, that was very trolly, thanks game, is that he only takes 5 hits. I got trolled pretty hard in the 3rd cycle there, though. He disappeared and spun around, like there was no way I was hitting that. Good news is stage 9's over. So stage 9's pretty aggravating. Hardest stage to boss ratio for sure. Okay, and on to stage 10. I actually really like stage 10. It's a very short stage, and the boss of this stage is the only boss, unless you count Wendy, that only has 1 phase. So it's just pretty short overall. Stage itself, not really anything we've seen here, and this is also a reused music track, which isn't common in this game. That was weird, that didn't hit me. Definitely don't shoot this gate, costs us some time. Even though it's a reused track, I do like this song quite a bit. Very dream pop. Okay. Shoot these goombalings. I don't want anything to do with that. Sure, I guess I didn't hit that. That's okay, though. Bombs you definitely want to hit. If a bomb goes off, you basically can't jump it. Normally you can jump a good number of grounded enemies, but because of bomb explosions, they make that really tricky. Okay, on to our boss. There's a way to go fast here that I've been having some difficulty with lately. Okay, cool. So Charge and Chuck is a complete firefight. You don't want him to jump, but sometimes he does. He does do a lot of damage, but he also has low health, so it's a complete firefight. The way you can make that fight faster is if he decides to despawn by jumping off the screen, and also at the start of the fight, if you aim your cursor to right about here as he's falling, you can shoot him out of the sky, which actually saves time, because it collapses him to the ground. If he gets to hit the ground the way he wants to, it causes a quake, and quakes are bad because if the ground quakes, you can't do anything while the screen is shaking. So you lose time being able to shoot him, you lose time being able to coordinate, like it's all bad. So you want to make sure that you can play the fight by your rules, and we actually did pretty well there, so. On to our last stage. Not a very difficult stage, but certainly certainly the longest, just because of the amount of things we have to do. I did not want all that to happen. That's weird. Okay. Mentioned before, Paragoombas are pretty annoying when they want to be. Take care of all these goons. Note about the speedrun, the top, like, I can't remember if it's the top 2 or 3 times in this game, are like sub 37. To show how much time you lose by playing it on an emulator, even though using a mouse is convenient, my PB is like a 38, 31. So a guaranteed minute and a half loss is a pretty big deal. Like having that controller that you can use to move around Yoshi, you definitely want that if you're trying to optimize time saves. Mecha Koopas are a new enemy. They're treated kind of like boos, but they're not quite as dangerous. You have to shoot them and then bypass them, because they can come out of hit stun and hit you, but since they're on the ground and they don't float, they're not quite as dangerous as ghosts are. Love this music track too, it's a good one. Big jump there. Get some health. Always forget about that one. That guy actually sometimes doesn't hit you. I don't know if it's because of landing trajectory or if it's a random spawn point. I'm not sure. But getting hit there does suck. That's for sure. Do some quick corner zips. It's one up. Don't need it, but it's fine. Don't want to get hit by bullet bills, so I'm gonna take care of as many of those as I can. Kind of cool about shooting the fire enemies is that you don't really lose a ton of time from lag by hitting them. Kick that out of the way. And on to our last two sequences. First sequence retains the original boss music, and it's a refight with a bunch of the mid-bosses. Starting off with the Hammer Brother. Damn, the trajectory. Knocked me way off course a few times. Boomerang Brothers basically the same. Stop to the center, that's a good thing. Good enough. To this day, I still don't know what coins do in this game. I actually think the LRock617 refight's easier than the original, mainly because you have more space but should be able to fight him. And to be able to jump those spinies in case he despawns. Ooh, 5-cycle fight, rough. I prioritized safety there, and I probably shouldn't have. We get our health back anyway, but it is what it is. Quick Sister Sledge refights. No real changes to any of the Hammer Brother fights. Shoot them until they can't go anymore. There we go. Last anti-air. The Fire Snake refights, man, it's one of the worst mid-bosses in the game just because of the hitbox changes. Once it gets down to 2, it just becomes really hard to hit. I actually kind of like having more space here. Same with the LRock617 fight, I didn't want that to happen. Definitely goofed there. Okay, I'm gonna take care of that. Last item. Onto our last shoot. And we approach Bowser, who chose a Shredder aesthetic for his anime battle armor, which is kind of interesting. I love the fact the feet are sticking out, though. First phase is actually the easier of the two, even though he's completely armored up. We have to take care of the arms, which he can't shield. And then we go for the stomach, which is shielded, but it doesn't really have a ton of health. One more should do it. Ah, I didn't have enough. I thought I did. Yeah, that's what I thought. Trying to do that yet. Okay, so now he's armorless. We're just gonna fight him like he's a Bowser because it's Bowser. This phase actually is really random. You have to take out both arms that he's using to throw shells. Every time he quakes the ground like that, we're helpless to do anything. Like, we can't actually shoot, we can't, we wouldn't have the ability to move. We're just gonna go ahead and get some health back just to make sure I have the safety. Once both arms are gone, it's pretty easy breezy from here. We're just gonna shoot him in the mouth to stop all these fireballs. Take your hits, old man. All right, there we go. That'll be time. And the now heavily damaged and bandaged Bowser has 2 white flags to show that he really surrenders. Hey, 7-stream watch streak, good times. Welcome, Manhole. So that'll finish off our game. We did the thing, we rescued the king, we rescued the prince, we got all the jewels back. And for the first part of our real ending, here's why Mario is a jerk. So to do this for time now. Like Yoshi hasn't suffered enough this game. He just fires at him. It's me! And Yoshi's just running around in terror. Like, your hero, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for the GGs. What a jerk. Cool little ending sequence. Our prince who has this Peter Pan hat. And there's Yoshi, ever the loyalist by Mario's side, despite having just been shot at. I can't get over how rude that is, you know, it's just so awful. Ah, yes, it is. The finale sequence, similar to Chaos Emeralds, or not Chaos Emeralds because that's not our franchise. The jewels are gonna get tossed up to the sky. Yeah, I actually mentioned that at the start of the run. This, in the US, this is the first time she's mentioned by the name Princess Peach. So, a little bit of trivia about this game. The other trivia aspect being that any character that was introduced in this game, like the King and the Prince, are never mentioned again after this game. The thing that really blows my mind is that this game didn't sell very well in original hardware form, and it came out within a week of the original Mortal Kombat for the SNES, which, as we all know, had a ton of fan backlash because it didn't have blood. And Nintendo, I guess in a conference call or quarterly meeting or whatever, decided to blame the low sales on the fact that people were upset at Nintendo for the Mortal Kombat fiasco, which just baffles me, because we all know the real reason it didn't sell is because you had to buy what it was like a $200 peripheral to even play it. Lord knows how I convinced my parents to get it for me. So we saved Jewelry Land. We got all the people in the back rejoicing. I don't know what that guy third from the left is supposed to be. He kind of looks like a bird a little bit. If he is a bird, he can't possibly be as much of a jerk as Mario. Da, 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 da. Bump, 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 bump. Damn, everything he has he owes to Mario. Even though this is Yoshi's game. Yeah, no worries. I don't mind reiterating. That's more for the people who were here at the start. That was just reiterating it. Bump, 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 bump. I was weird. I wanted a Super Scope just so I could play this game. It just seems so weird and different. I will claim that I did not play the six-pack packing game very much. It had some okay stuff, but the Super Scope was one of those things that I really hoped it caught on with me more, but past this game, I was just kind of like, eh. I want to say a friend of mine brought over one of his games at one point. I don't remember if it was Battle Clash or Metal Combat, but I'm pretty sure I played one of them. I just don't have any distinct memories of it. Yeah, it's a good game. It doesn't justify the accessory. Yeah, overall, I think the peripheral can definitely be considered a failure, but it has been reused in lore in some instances. Like, it's an item in some of the Smash Brothers games. So they don't mind referencing it. It's just never going to be re-released. To whence they came. Don't get to see that used much in dialogue. Not in game. Story's over. Alright, that'll end us off. I think that's gonna do it for me, so we'll go ahead and let our heroes fade out. And we're gonna start getting set up for the one night only tournament for SMB. Y'all stick around, and thank y'all so much for joining me. Take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend.